Alright, so in this video we're checking out the ToolkitRC M4 Pocket Charger. So this is a very tiny charger, obviously with the name being Pocket, indicating that it's pocket sized, and you can see it's much smaller than my hand. It is mainly for smaller batteries because it only goes up to 80 watts and for up to 4S batteries, so no 5S, 6S or larger batteries. Just a quick look at the box here. That's what the screen looks like. We'll obviously turn it on. 80 watts, 1.4 inch IPS display, color of course, and it has USB-C input. And what the size looks like, I'll show you that here in a second. This is the specs. So XT60, it's only 7 to 25 volts. So if you have a fully charged 6S battery, it's going to be a little bit over the top rating here, so be aware of that. But I think you're primarily going to want to use this with the USB-C charger that is power delivery or quick charge capable. That's what you're going to want to use this one for, because it's going to make it nice and compact. And of course your output is limited to 4S, maximum of 5 amps, and you can also plug things into the USB-C as an output as well for power delivery and quick charge. I'll show you that as well. You can charge up your phones and cameras and stuff like that. And again, the display is a 1.5 inch screen. So in addition to the charger, you do get this little quick start guide, like with all other ToolkitRC products. They did also send along another one of these SC100 cables, which is a USB-C to XT60 adapter. I actually made a video, I think it was last week, with my M7 charger, which I was going to be using this for travel purposes, with my USB-C charger, which is like my laptop charger, which is this one here. So foldable plug, USB-C output, and this is what I was going to be using. But now that I have this newer one here, this might be pretty useful, but it doesn't charge 6S batteries. So for those of you like, oh, you know, this video is useless for me, you can still use the SC100 cable with the M7 charger instead. This is a little bit bigger charger, 200 watts to up to 10 amps and 1 to 6S. So you can charge up 6S batteries in this one. And just for comparison, here's what they look like side by side. Obviously the M4 is smaller, but if you want something, you know, nice and compact, this M7 is really nice. Now the M4 is actually an sort of an evolution of the previous M4, the M4 AC here, which was only AC input, no DC input. So basically this is limited to home use, but also again limited to up to 4S. But this one would only charge up to 30 watts, as you can see right there. Whereas now we can go up to 80 watts. So yes, it's still limited to smaller batteries, but you're going to be able to charge a lot faster, up to 5 amps. So a little bit more versatile. So looking around the charger itself, you got the screen, of course, you got your button. That's the only button on here, nothing on the side here or here except for the balance lead. And on the bottom is your output. You have this little sliding mechanism here. You can choose between XT30 or XT60. This is great because, you know, if you have one of these other chargers with only an XT60 output, you could choose the other one with an XT30 or use an XT60, XT30 adapter. You'd have to carry around an extra one of these, but now you know how to do that, at least for the output side on here. However, on the input side, you have a choice of USB-C for input or XT60. So no XT30 on the input. Again, then you're going to have to be bringing along one of these if you want to be charging up other batteries off of a battery that has an XT30 connector, which is going to be kind of rare because usually those are larger batteries, and they're going to have an XT60. So it makes sense that they decided to choose that. I think this is great because then you can use this in the field, take along like a bigger battery. You know, maybe not a fully charged 6S, you know, maybe just a below 25 volts. You can plug this in and use this as a field charger for your 4S or smaller batteries. Or when you're at the hotel or at home, plug in your USB-C charger in here and then also charge up your batteries that way. Alright, so let's show you how this works. So go ahead and plug in my input power here is just going to be USB-C source from USB-C charger. You can see the nice color screen. We have basically 4 different endpoints for the end voltage. So 4.2 volts, 4.35 volts for like a high volt battery, 3.85 for like storage. I think 3.6 is storage for like a LiFePO battery. I'm not really sure what 3.6 is. This is the same as the 4 end voltages that were on the M4 AC. On the current level, there's basically have 2, let's see here. Yeah, 1 amp. That's the first green dot. The second is 2 amps, 3 amps, and then the 5 amps is the highest voltage. You have your voltages on your balance lead here, as well as your current draw and milliamp hours, as well as the percentage on the battery. To switch between the end voltages, you long press for 2 seconds. That'll switch between the end voltages. And then basically at this point you just plug in the battery and it'll start charging right away. You don't have to do anything else. So I'm going to be plugging in an XT60 battery. So we'll plug this in, and then on the balance lead, the negative has to be towards the XT60 plug over here, and that's the 1. You hear a beep, and it should start charging. There it goes, and you can see here basically the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the balance lead corresponds to the ports here on the bottom. So basically 1 is where the negative is on the bottom there, and it's charging at 5 amps. Wow, that's crazy. It's a little bit too much for this battery, so short press here will take it back down to 1 amp, maybe 2 amps here. This is like a 800 milliamp hour battery, so like you don't want to be charging this at 5 amps. That's a little bit too much, but you know, now with the 80 watts available to you on this charger, you can plug in bigger 4S batteries, 3S batteries, and it'll charge much faster than on 30 watts, of course. Okay, so in addition to the USB-C being an input source, you can use it as an output source as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll plug in the battery on here, which is actually on the output side, but it's actually going to act as an input when you want to charge up something via the USB-C on the other side. So you don't have to plug in the balance lead for this to work, although I will, so that you can see the voltages on each of the cells. And then you just plug in a USB-C cable here. And then the other end, I'm going to plug in a phone. And it says charging. And you can see here it's outputting 4.87 volts. And it's going to start draining the battery that I plugged in over here. You can see the voltages are slowly coming down. See, I'm also on my phone here. It's saying it's charging rapidly because it is USB-C. I think it's using the power delivery or quick charge protocol for my phone. So you're not just limited to phones. You can charge up pretty much anything that complies with USB-C. So here's a camera. Go ahead and I'll plug that in. Should have a red light show up on here somewhere. Okay, there it is right there. So that's charging now. And we can see the voltage is coming down right there, as well as the main voltage. So be aware that you can kill the battery that is connected via this method here, like this. It's not doing a storage charge, it's just draining the voltage out of here and sending it out. I don't know what the limit to that voltage is and when it will stop. I think at a certain point it will stop. It won't go to 0, but it will pretty much kill your battery. So this isn't really for storage charging. This is just if you want to use a battery that maybe is fully charged and you want to bring it down a little bit, it will do that and send that, you know, energy into whatever device you're trying to charge up, like a camera or phone or something like that via USB-C. But be aware that you will eventually kill the battery because there's no point that it'll just stop. I did try a couple tests where I was kind of waiting for it to stop at the storage voltage level at 3.85. See, we're almost there, 3.869. And it went below that. It went to like past 3.8. So I was like, oh, it didn't stop at 3.85. It didn't stop at 3.8. So I'm thinking that they're, at least in the current firmware, I'm going to ask them to possibly change that. to at least check to see what the voltage is of the input source, or in this case, it's actually the output side, but they probably don't have the logic in there right now for the firmware. So be careful. Don't leave it on here without watching what's going on, otherwise you'll kill the battery. But it's a good way to use, extra batteries you have laying around that you don't want to have at high voltage, and you can bring it down a little bit closer to storage voltage and charge up your other devices with the extra energy you have left over, which is a good way of doing it. Also, you can also do storage charging the normal way, where you have a larger like an input source over here on this side, and then obviously bring the battery up or down on this side here. But the balance current here on the balance leads is only about 400 milliamps, so it's going to take a while if you're trying to bring your battery down in voltage. Obviously, if you're trying to bring it up, it'll be faster because you have up to 5 amps available to you. So you bring up the voltage, but to bring down the voltage, the normal method is probably going to take longer than this method here. So you can see I'm already down to 3.85. So yeah, I'm pretty much at storage. So if I'm watching it at this point, I'll go ahead and disconnect it. Yeah, so overall, pretty nice charger. I like the fact it has the XT60 and XT30 outputs. I don't like the fact that it's only 4-cell, but I don't really charge too many 6-cell batteries on the road, so I can kind of give them a pass for that. I don't like the kind of balance lead connector on the side here, because if you have a battery with the balance lead and the battery connector kind of close together, you're gonna have trouble connecting both of them in here for balance charging. So that I think could be improved. I do like the fact that you can use USB-C chargers with this. That's 80 watts. So this is definitely going to be going in my travel bag. I take along this along with my laptop charger and USB-C cable, and I'm good to go. And as long as I'm happy with just charging up to 4-cell batteries. Other than that, I think that's going to be it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.